Gold and silver do not work as money. I was reminded of this because I dug out all the old gold and silver that I had bought in 2017. Some of it I had stored in a off-site secure location. A little bit of it was spread here and there. Anyway, it was a pain, but I pulled together the gold and silver I bought in 2017, and I was reminded as I was doing that why gold and silver don't work as money. So first of all, there's a massive amount of trust that is required for gold and silver to work, but also it just doesn't work on the four tenant or the between 5 and 8 tenets of what is a good money. So I remembered when I had pulled this gold and silver together, I was trying to make it work as money. In fact, I had bought all these things that have like these tiny little gold and silver coins so that the denominations were small enough that you could theoretically use them to buy small things. Because obviously an ounce of gold costs like $4,000. And so if you're trying to buy stuff with gold coins, you better hope that whatever you're trying to buy is priced in increments of $4,000, which of course almost nothing is. Same with silver. A silver, 1 ounce piece of silver is like $40. So again, you can only buy stuff that's in $40 increments. So I had bought quite a few like small below 1 ounce gold and silver, gold and silver coins, thinking I want to see if I can make this work as money and even in an emergency situation. And the conclusion I came to is you can't. Gold's problem and silver's problem is divisibility. You cannot walk into a coffee shop and shave off a little bit of the corner of a gold coin. Even the smallest gold coins, which are 1 gram, are way too valuable to use for that purpose. And again, you could get very small denomination silver coins, but they're very difficult to transport. Silver is a very heavy metal, just like gold is a heavy metal. And so unless you want like a massive chunk of, stuff bouncing around in your pocket, and you're trying to, make change out of gold and silver in your pocket, it doesn't work. But there's a bigger problem to the divisibility problem, and it's the trust problem. So recently on my Facebook page, a number of people have posted comments about how the only real money is gold and silver and all this sort of stuff. But what they don't realize is you can't really use gold and silver in a modern economy because it's way too easy to counterfeit and to fake it. I mean, we live in a world of advanced manufacturing. And as I was digging all this gold and silver out, I was reminded the massive amount of trust that has to be built into a gold and silver system. So first of all, I bought this gold and silver from APMEX, APMEX, which I think I can't remember where they're from. I thought they were in Texas, but I think they might be in Minnesota or Missouri. I don't know. It was APMEX. So I bought it. First of all, I am trusting that APMEX actually sent me gold and silver. I don't know. I don't have a $50,000 spectrometer. I don't have a way of verifying that every one of these coins is actual gold and silver on the inside. And even an American Eagle gold coin is not 100% gold. I think it's like 91% gold because the other stuff is in there to keep it from being, gold is too malleable. It's too easy to dent it or to bend it. So a lot of gold coins are mixed with other metals. They still have 1 ounce of gold, supposedly, but they're mixed with other base metals or whatever. I'm not sure if it's base or whatever. Anyway, they're mixed with other metals to make it harder. But again, I have no way of proving that. So I've got to trust APMEX to send me stuff that's actually gold and silver. And I've been sitting on this for 8 years now, since 2017. I don't know if it's gold and silver. It looks like gold and silver, but I don't have any way of proving that. And then when I shipped it to SD Bullion, which offered me a much better price to take it back than APMEX, again, same problem is they're trusting me. We are both trusting FedEx that, nothing's been manipulated in transit. They don't have any good way. Certainly they have higher end equipment than I do. But so gold's problem is not just the divisibility problem, it's the trust problem. And because of the trust problem, whenever gold and silver have attempted to be used as money in the past, people don't actually use gold and silver. They use receipts for gold and silver. That's why a US $20 bill represented 1 ounce of gold. It was too much of a pain to actually use the gold because the gold was not divisible. It was too hard to authenticate and make sure it was actually gold. So there was all these problems with gold and silver. So even when people tried to use them as money, they used receipts that represented a certain amount of gold and silver. But again, you have a massive problem with that, which is trust, which is the gold and silver has to be somewhere. So even if you have it buried in some vault somewhere, and you're carrying around slips of paper that represent gold and silver, you once again have a trust problem. How do you know that the gold and silver actually is where you think it is? How do you know that the piece of gold or silver actually represents gold and silver that actually exists? Now, we found out in the United States it didn't. The gold, a $20 bill in the United States was supposed to represent $20.67 of gold, which was 1 ounce. Because of the price of an ounce of gold had been set, the U.S. government committed that they would not print more money than they had gold. So in the early days, the money was gold backed. But of course, they printed way more pieces of paper than they had gold. And so the whole just trust me, bro system completely broke down because a $20 bill was not worth an ounce of gold. It turns out it wasn't even worth half an ounce. And now $20 is, whatever, $20 out of $4,000, whatever percent that is, some ridiculously small percent of what you can get an ounce of gold for $20. It's like nothing. You can get like half a gram or something. I don't know, some ridiculously small amount. So anyway, gold and silver have massive trust problems. And if you go to the Fidelity report, Bitcoin First Revisited, which if you have not read that report, you should. It's fantastic. It's by Fidelity Digital Assets. Fidelity, one of the biggest asset managers in the world. And they have a report called Bitcoin First Revisited. And in there, they have a chart of the elements of what makes a good money. And they list divisibility, durability, portability, authenticatability, fungibility, and scarcity. And the goal is to essentially show between gold, fiat currency, and Bitcoin why Bitcoin has superior monetary properties as compared to gold or fiat currency, and far superior monetary properties as compared to silver. So I was reminded as I was digging out this gold and silver that it never could work as money. And that's the conclusion I came to in 2017. I bought these gold and silver coins. Initially, I only bought like 1 ounce gold and 1 ounce silver coins. Then I realized this will never work as money because they're not divisible enough. So I bought a bunch of 1 gram gold coins instead of 1 ounce. And I think there's like 27 or 28 grams in an ounce or something like that. Anyway, and then even then I realized, wait, but I don't even know these are gold. And they're super, because they're 99.99% gold or whatever it is. If I drop these or if I bend one of them, they're not going to be in mint condition. Then they're not going to be worth as much. It just doesn't work. But the core reason gold and silver don't work is trust. The gold and silver has to be somewhere, and you're trusting whoever has it that what you are using as money, which is, paper currency or electronic currency that's representing gold and silver, you are trusting that the gold and silver actually exists. And we know in history that eventually it never does. Additionally, all the people who posted my Facebook page about how gold and silver could be money, I don't think any of them have actually bought gold and silver with the intention of trying to see if it could be money. I actually have. I actually went through that entire exercise back in 2017 of actually buying gold and silver, actually trying to get coins that were small enough to use in day-to-day commerce, and then trying to figure out, hey, does this really work? Like, can I envision a world where gold and silver actually work in the real world for the kind of purchases I make? And the conclusion I came to was no, which is why I bought a lot more Bitcoin and not more gold and silver. I came to the conclusion that that paradigm does not work, that eventually it would get centralized and you would have to trust someone to hold the gold and silver. And eventually that, of course, would get everybody get rug pulled, meaning the rug gets pulled out from under you when you find out that, the gold and silver is not actually there. And the paper receipts you're using to represent gold and silver don't actually represent gold and silver anymore. That has been the history of the use of gold and silver as money. It always ends up with a rug pull when the government tells you you can no longer redeem the paper receipts or the electronic money for the gold or the silver. They just always rug pull you. It's a 100% chance. So anyway, I actually tried to make gold and silver work as money. There's a ton of trust that's required to even try. And that trust historically has always broken down. And even if you just get gold and silver coins and you try to envision yourself using those as money, you realize you can't. They're not divisible enough and they're not authenticatable enough. They might be durable and they're not portable enough either. If you want to settle large commercial transactions, you can't be driving a truck of gold around. I mean, you're just going to get, it's going to get stolen. You can move billions of dollars of Bitcoin all day long. But if you're driving around a truck with massive amounts of gold in it, you're going to get robbed at some point. So Bitcoin works way better as money. Gold and silver does not work as money. I learned that from experience, and that's why I bought a lot more Bitcoin. And as of Friday of last week, I now own 0 gold and silver because I dumped it all at FedEx to take to SD Bullion, who will then send me a wire transfer, and I will buy more real money that actually works in the real world, which is Bitcoin. And as soon as they give me that wire transfer, I will buy as much Bitcoin as I can with every last cent of it. So I like Bitcoin. Gold and silver does not work in a modern economy as money. Believe me, I tried. It doesn't work.